It's wise for a business owner, whether he's just starting a business or years into it, to understand how to value his business and even set it up with the intention to sell it from the very get-go. When a business owner gets ready to sell his business, he has several options. Sell it to a competitor, an investment group, another individual or company, or even his employees. No matter who you sell to, the rules about establishing a company's value are all the same. Making money is the key component to value. Many contractors don't know if they're making any money or not until they do their taxes at the end of the year, and often that's way too late. Since we're contractors and we know that subject well, we'll use a contractor in our example and follow a job and the money flow through the company. We start with a house that has an empty yard. The homeowner hires us to add landscaping. We perform the installation and have a finished job. The customer then pays us for our work. This is called gross income or gross money into the company. Now we have to pay the costs that are directly related to that job. These costs include the labor costs, what we pay the crews to install the landscaping, the material costs, what we pay the suppliers for the materials we need to do the landscaping, the commission costs, what we pay the salesman who sold the job. These things together are called cost of goods sold, or COGS, C-O-G-S. You can think of this as money you spent at the customer's house. These costs are also referred to as direct expenses or expenses that directly relate to that job. If we didn't have the job, we would not have these expenses. Now, the money left over after we paid for the cost of goods sold is called gross profit. If we could keep all the gross profit, that would be great, but before we can do that, we need to pay all of our overhead expenses. Overhead, which is also called fixed expenses, is any expense that must be paid whether the company has a job or not. Imagine that we have an overhead bin that looks like this. The overhead bin consists of rent, utilities, phones, office employees, job supervisors, marketing, insurance, equipment leasing, truck maintenance, small tools, or any monthly or weekly expense that the company is committed to. Anything that is not a direct expense to the job would be considered overhead and increases the size of this bin. It's vital that you know what your overhead consists of because you'll need enough gross profit to put into this bin each week to pay your overhead bills. If you don't fill up the bin with gross profit, you'll have a loss. If you fill it up exactly, you'll break even. If you fill it up and then some, you'll have a profit. This profit is called net profit and is what we're in business for. There happens to be a very key element to the overhead bin. It has a clock on it, and the clock is ticking. Everything related to overhead has a time payment connected to it. Rent once a month, office and job supervisors pay every week, utilities once a month, lease payments once a month, and so on. Here's what you have: an overhead bin that has a time fuse on it. And the only thing that will prevent it from blowing up is putting enough gross profit in the bin before time runs out. Wouldn't it be wise for a contractor to know how big his overhead bin is, how much time he has, and how much gross profit he needs to put into his bin before it blows? The fact is, most contractors are not aware that they have a clock ticking away, and they don't know how to stop it. Of course, they have a general idea that something like this is happening. But wouldn't it be great to have a system that can warn you on a daily basis if you're going to meet the deadline or not? That's what our management and software system is all about. Time is the real enemy, the real opponent. Each day we put money into our overhead bin, and at the end of the week there should be money left over. You can fall short and not cover your overhead. You can beat time and fill it up and have money left over. Filling up the overhead bin and having leftover money is the only way to make net profit. This is our real profit, and it's what we're in business for. Let's do a review. We started with a sale and money coming in from the customer. This is called gross income. Then we paid the expenses of that job. That's called cost of goods sold. Now we have our gross profit, which is used to cover our overhead. And finally, we're left with net profit, the real profit.